So, vinyl community, I'm back with a recent vinyl finds video. I have a shit load of stuff to show you today. A mixed bag. It's 70s, 60s rock, it's jazz. There are rare records, there are reissues, you know the deal. I'm mixing it up a lot this time. I just want to remind everyone to go to my Ko-Fi page if you want more content. This channel isn't going anywhere, but if you want more spontaneous content where you, the members, decide the content with me, then if that is something for you, please go there. I'll leave a link down below and check it out. So yeah, but first, before we start showing records, cue music. So almost like a monthly subscription, I buy the Blue Note classic series when it comes out. This is 1962. It's Jackie McLean, Vinylsnack with Freddie Hubbard, Kenny Drew, Doug Watkins, and Pete LaRocca. Again, mastered by Kevin Gray. He does a fantastic job. It's well separated, highly detailed. It sounds like they are playing in your living room, so to speak. Just get it if you're a jazz fan. So the next one, not so much a reissue, but more a new release of an old recording. This is from Mellotronen here in Sweden, maybe one of the most important release in later years. This is Fläsket Brinner featuring Bo Hansson live at Pistolteatern 1972. So this is the last date that Bo Hansson played with Fläsket Brinner. Great sort of set of collaboration back in the day, and Bo Hansson we all know from Hansson Karlsson, and he also did Lord of the Rings, and Fläsket Brinner had made two legendary records. Wow, well, the first one is maybe the best one and most known. I should say that this is Fläsket Brinner with Bo Hansson, but I would almost say that this is Bo Hansson with Fläsket Brinner because he is on fire on this one. I want to pull Bo Hansson forward for this recording, but also the drummer, which is just insane. Collaboration between those two, fantastic. And audio quality, not so, but this is recorded from one of the participants in the sort of audience, so it's an audience recording. But that's secondary in my opinion, because we should be, and we are, so glad that this even exists. This is so important, and if I held the funds for everything that came out in Sweden on the cultural side, I will just dump all money on Stefan Dimle, who has Mellotronen Records, because the stuff that he has or has access to that could be released is just from another planet. There are two separate cover artworks. I picked this one because this is on blue, Helsing blue or light blue. But there is also a black version. Both of them are pressed in 500 copies each. You also have Micke on the back. I think it's called Micke. An Instagram friend of mine. His back with his fantastic tattoo. This also comes with a booklet of the Pistolteatern and the songs and the lineup, and you know the good deal. This year's maybe most important sort of prog release, in my opinion. Fantastic. Even if the sound quality is not the best, the recording is so important. Highly recommended. Okay, so the last sort of new release or reissue or whatever you want to call it. This is a new release. 2021. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss released the follow-up to Raising Sand called Raise the Roof. This is produced by T-Bone Burnett. Sounds fantastic. It's not as good as the first one, in my opinion. It's not even, because I think the first one is almost a masterpiece. This is just good. So yeah, but this holds a special place in my heart because this is from the Brink collection. Lasse Brink, who passed away, a friend of mine who passed away, he bought this, one of the last records he bought, I think, and we talked about it at work, and I said that I need to pick up a copy because we both had the first one and we love it, and we talked about it. And so yeah, when he passed, I was able to buy some of his record collection, and this was one of them. Yeah, fantastic to be able to have a part of Lasse in the collection. 1965, this would be awesome to have a US press of, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So this was in the big collection that I bought. This is Bring It All Back Home by Bob Dylan. It's not a first UK press, but it's early 60s one. So 60s, maybe 67 or something like that. I'm just guessing, really. On CBS Records. The first press had the stereo in black here with arrows. So this is a dead giveaway that it's not a first. Now this is maybe on my top 5 Dylan records. It's impossible to pick one Dylan record, in my opinion. I can't do it, but maybe on top 5. I think that this is one of his absolute best records. There's not a bad song on here. There's not a bad moment, and in my opinion, It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding is the best song that he ever. If I could only pick one song by Bob Dylan, that would be my pick. So in 1970, Peter Green left Fleetwood Mac, and a month afterwards, he recorded this. I think that this also was recorded after his sort of LSD trip that is more or less famous. So yeah, this is actually just one big jam. It's an instrumental record. It's as good as the cover artwork. It's fantastic. So The End of the Game by Peter Green, highly recommended. You have people here from Angel Dunbar and Frank Zappa. If you're a guitar fan, this is a must-have. And I actually had this in my collection, a very nice first German press of this on Reprise Records. But in that sort of big collection, he also had it in a little bit better condition. So I kept this one and sold the other one. And I couldn't pass this when I bought sort of a bunch of records from a guy online, and he had this for next to nothing. So I knew that it was a rare record. So I took a chance on it, because it's a hit and miss when it comes to Bill Evans. There's so much released by this artist. It's hard to know where to begin or where to really end with this guy. But this is Live in Paris 1972, volume 1. So there's 3 volumes. All of them are really rare and really expensive. This was released in 1988, and it's a French press. It's a radio recording, and the recording quality is fantastic. So I think that that's why these records are so rare. And the sessions that they did is also super good, and the version that they do with on the second side, Waltz for Debbie, is fantastic. So I wish I had the second and the third volume, but I think that they are so rare and expensive, like I will never sort of stumble upon them like I did with this, and being able to buy them for much less that they go for. Bill Evans, Eddie Gomez and Marty Morell on drums. So 1962, I think the only release that Elvin Jones did solo, at least on Riverside Records. This is Elvin, a mono original press. There's the classic Riverside label there. And you have his 2 brothers on here also, Thad Jones and Hank Jones, with Frank Wass and Frank Foster on tenor sax. Great lineup, recorded 1961. This is fantastic. If you find it, grab it. I know that there is versions of this on original jazz recordings that you can find. Okay, so moving on. This is 1970, I think 71, and this was also in the collection. Actually, the one I saw the first time I was there checking out his apartment and stuff like that. So yeah, this is Under November. So November, the Swedish heavy psych group, whatever you want to call it, heavy rock group. Their second release comes with a gatefold, and there's the backside there. Pretty uninteresting, really, but it's an iconic cover, isn't it? On the fabulous Sonnet label. Now this is great. If you know November, they released 3 records. The first one is called En ny tid är här. This one is called 2nd of November, and the last third one is called the 6th of November. This was produced by Jojje Wadenius, who played with Made in Sweden and Solar Plexus, and yeah, you know the deal. And this, compared to the first one, I have to say that this is a little bit more polished, a little bit more produced, but it's I mean, they are tied. Equally as good, I should say. If I only could pick one, I would pick their first one. But this is also really, really good. So if you want that Swedish, rare, heavy blues psych sung in Swedish, this is your thing. Yeah, classic in sort of the collecting world of Swedish psychedelia, I guess. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of UK folk, but I think that I need my folk to be a little bit dark or a little bit rocky. I don't know how to really explain it, but I need it to be like more like Comus or Shirley Collins, rather than this, or maybe a little bit more against like Fairport Convention, something like that. This is beautiful. I don't know, maybe not my cup of tea. And it's rare. It's a rare record. I bought it with a bunch of other stuff, so I got a great price for it. I've sampled it, obviously, before I bought it. And it sounded beautiful, like really beautiful. But now, playing the entire thing, I don't know if it's really my cup of tea. Shades of McMurrow with Carrig River. There's two sisters on here, Mary and Josephine O'Neill, and also Paul Kavanagh. Released in 1963. This is an Irish record, and it's Celtic folk. And I don't know, man. It's beautiful. They sing beautifully. The harmonies are perfect. I mean, and the music is great. It's just a little bit too much. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But it's a sort of the record, so I don't believe I'll have any problems of finding a new home for it. But I should now in hindsight, I should have sampled it more and really checked it out. I was maybe a little bit too colored of how rare it was and the price of it and so forth. So yeah. Okay, so I had pressings of these and I sold everyone because in the huge collection, these were in there. They are early US press, not first ones, not all of them at least. So I had like early 70s or later 70s pressings and stuff like that of them. So I played them. They sound great, fantastic condition and stuff like that. So I traded them in my own collection and sold my own copies. This is Led Zeppelin 1, 3, and 4. And 1 and 3 sounds fantastic, but number 4, and this is my favorite, sounds just so. It's a little bit noisy and stuff like that. Okay, 1967, Marmalade Record released this in the UK. They released a stereo and a mono version, and man, I have been looking for that record since I started really collecting psych. It's one of those pillars of UK psych. And I mean, Marmalade Records isn't a huge record label per se. They released some with Trinity and Brian Auger and Julie Driscoll and John McLaughlin, I think, and with this band and a handful of singles, but nothing more really. So when I found this German first press on Polydor, I went for it. I mean, shit, it's rare as it is. It's hard to find. It's the same year, 1967, that it was pressed, and it's Blossom Toast with We Are Ever So Clean. They only released 2 records, and this is definitely the best one. The last one, the second one that they released, is more of heavy blues. This is psych all the way through. Half of the songs are classics and tense, and the rest of the songs are just fantastic. So there you go. There's the review of this one. If you take one record with you from this video that I recommend you to check out, if you haven't heard Blossom Toast, give this a try. It's a classic, so most of you know about this, and I guess are happy that I have found a copy that I can add to the collection. So yeah, but if you don't, check it out. Blossom Toast, fantastic, 1967. Yeah, and continue talking about rare records. This is actually one that I posted on my Instagram account, and I had a discussion with one of my followers there who commented, and I actually agree with him. We don't understand how this can be as expensive as it is. Is it really that rare? Please comment if you have any theories on it. But yeah, this is Shades of Deep Purple by Deep Purple. Their first record. This is the first stereo press, UK stereo press that they released on with this flip back cover. And you know that it's a first press because it's on the classic Parlophone label, that yellow Parlophone label. But under the Parlophone logo, you have sold in UK, subject for resale, blah blah blah. So that little text makes it a first, and the Matrix and so forth. But yeah, this was in the big collection. I can't say that I would ever buy this for what it goes for, even if the first two Deep Purple records are masterpieces in my opinion. But that is also as far as I go with my Purple. I'm not a huge Purple fan, to be honest. The two first ones I think are masterpieces, really, really good. And then it just, yeah, I'm not really interested in the rest that they put out, and definitely not Rainbow when they started to. It's not my bag really. I mean, good for you if you like it, but yeah. So of all records that could be in this collection, I'm really happy that this was in there, because as I said, I would never pay what this goes for, but obviously I wanted a copy, so glad to add it to the collection. Yeah, I really can't say that I'm a huge John Mayall fan, even if it's impossible to not be impressed or have respect for the guy. I mean, he is almost solely responsible for the UK sort of blues, heavy blues boom in the 60s. And I mean, the people that worked for him or played with him is just mind-blowing. So in the collection were a lot of John Mayall records, and I've cleaned some, and I cleaned this and I played this. This is Bare Wires from 1968, the last one that John Mayall called the Blues Breakers, that had the title sort of John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. And you have Chris Mercer here and Dick Hansdall Smith, which I think went on to form Colosseum after this. John Heisman, which also on drums, which also went on to do something I can't remember now, and Mick Taylor, the guitarist. So those two, I mean, shit. And Mick Taylor went on later on to play with Rolling Stones, but he actually, I think that he picked up the guitar after Peter Green in the Blues Breakers. So yeah, a nice record. I think that music is good. It's nothing that I play every day. Not that sort of a blues guy, but it's cool. And yeah, as you can see, in fantastic condition. There's the record label there, the awesome Decca label. I'm learning a lot about Decca now, because there were a lot of Decca records when they started to add the registered mark, and if it was boxed Decca or unboxed, and yeah, it's a jungle. Okay, continuing on 1967. This is Eric Burdon and the Animals. This is right after Eric Burdon left Animals to compile the group Eric Burdon and the Animals, if I did my research correct. This is Wind of Change, 1967. Animals, maybe a little bit more blues or pop oriented, whilst this went more towards the psychedelic sound of the times, 1967. It's not a Eric Burdon penned record, if I read correctly. It's definitely the entire group who wrote and produced and or performed the songs. Except for some covers. I know Painted Black is one of them, which sounds fantastic. And I had a discussion going on one of my videos when I showed this, because I haven't heard this before I played it now. And people were just like flabbergasted that I didn't know about this classic record. But back in the day, I saw this record in the sort of dollar bins all the time. And I were never sort of drawn to the cover and Eric Burdon and the Animals. I mean, the Animals is not a band that I listen to. And Eric Burdon's solo stuff, I have no relation to that. So I never saw, and I never read about this in lists, so it never attracted. I was never attracted to it in that sort of way. So yeah, but I'm super glad. I'm 40 years old this year, and it's so cool that you still can find fantastic music from back in the day, 1967, that you never heard, that still blows your mind. Going back a year, 1966, this is one that I've seen, but I never sort of pulled the trigger on. So also from that big collection, the Blues Project Projections. I think this is the first studio record that they released, but I might be wrong. They released 2 studio records and 2 live records, I think, during the lifetime of the band. This is definitely the most known person, at least, is Al Cooper on this one. He just came from the sessions that he did for Highway 61 Revisited with Bob Dylan. So somewhat of famous from that. Went into this great blues stuff. I mean, some people say that it has a little bit of psych in it. I would never put a psych sticker on this. It's a blues rock record, definitely. And later on, he and another guy, I can't really remember who, went on to form Blood, Sweat and Tears. So yeah, Verve Forecast. Great label. I mean, Verve Forecast is a cool label, really diverse. It seems like that anyway, so I'm gonna see if I can dive a little bit more into the Verve Forecast catalog. The next one, 1970. This is such a quirky record, and I know what you are going to say, but listen, just hear me out here. This is the Set Band with Moogie Woogie, 1970, and I know there's not a shortage of Moog records from 1970, are there? So I was not sort of attracted to this at all when I saw it the first time. I bought some records from a guy, and I saw this, and I just, there was something that drew me to just sample a song or two, and I think I bought it for like €3 or something like that. But the samples was awesome, and when it came home, I put it on. The recording quality is fantastic. The lineup here is, I mean, the people playing on this one are sort of iconic Moog players, and it sounds like a little bit of like a computer game meets psychedelic trip on Chess Records. Great. I mean, if you find it for $2, $3, $4, I would pick it up. It's not something that you need in your collection, but it's a cool record. And if I was a guy who sampled stuff, I will check that out, definitely. Okay, 1968. This band has so many names, and I think that they changed names 2 times just for this record. But they were called, in 1968, when this was released in Germany, they were called Die Anderen. I don't know what that means, really. The others, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, and the record was called Cannibal Comics. But they later tried to break it in the States. They changed the cover artwork, and they changed the name to Cannibal Comics. Yeah. And later on the next record, I think that they did a sort of a 180 and called themselves Apocalypse or something like that. But yeah, so now this record, the Anderen Cannibal Comics, a 3 gatefold thingy. Beautiful gatefold. This is, as I said, the first German press on Ariola Records, and the house producer of Ariola Records in 1968 was no other than Giorgio Moroder. So this is before the sort of disco tech things, and I'm definitely going to check out what he did more in this time period, because the production on this is fantastic. It's really it's definitely a German product. But it has that sort of popish, almost early Bee Gees kind of vibe to it, but with fuzzy guitars and really, at times at least, psychedelic songs. It's a little bit of a schizophrenic record, but there's not a dull moment on it, and there's not a bad song, in my opinion. There are only very good songs and good songs. Like on the first side, the second track, Neurotic Reaction. Check it out. It reminds me a little bit of Frumpy, even if there's 4 guys playing on here. But a little bit of Frumpy, that sort of krautish pop rock thing. Now the second, the alternate cover is even cooler, and I have been looking for that for maybe 2 years or something like that. Never found it. Found this, the first press, and pulled the trigger on this one. But the other one, the US version of the cover, is a naked girl riding a horse holding a skull in her hand, and it says Cannibal Comics on the entire record. It's a gatefold. It's such a weird and haunting sort of picture that I'm actually thinking of buying that too, so I have both pressings, but I don't know. I'm not that kind of collector. Okay, so going back to Scandinavia, this is now we land in Denmark, and again a pretty rare record nowadays. This is Klaus Schoening with Lydglimt, a glimpse of sound. I think that the translation is of that. Some sticker tear here and stuff like that, but otherwise it's in fairly good condition. And the record is in fantastic condition. This was released in 1979, but it sounds like a sort of mid to maybe early 70s record. That sort of Tangerine Dream stuff that we all love from Germany. Ambient record for sure. He did 2 sort of themes, one on each side. The first one is called the forest, and the second one is called the beach, because he wanted this to be a soundscape of what is Denmark, and I think he nailed it. He financed the entire thing by himself from student loan when he was young, and he went around with a paper bag and tried to sell it. There are rumors that there were like 500 pressed or something like that. Yeah, and Fredriksberg have done a fantastic reissue of this if you don't want to pay up for the original press. So yeah, a private pressed gem from Scandinavia, definitely. So, okay, the next one is actually from 1971. I think that the first one by them came out the same year. This is As a Guy with Zimbabwe. Afro jazz, Afro rock. I don't know. It has a killer lineup on here with Luis Maholo on drums, which we all love. Mongesi Fesa, who played with Don Cherry, I think, in Sweden. The first one was released on Vertigo Swirl. This was actually recorded in London and was bound to be released on Vertigo Swirl, if I'm not mistaken. But it fell through, and it was released by Philips. So yeah, awesome to have this in my collection. I almost bought their first one a couple of times, actually, where the price was right and stuff like that, but it fell through. But I've never seen this, so it's awesome to have that in the collection now. Yeah, and this one, I'm gonna shoot by this really quickly. This is the second Impulse release ever, I think, A2. Always nice with another Impulse spine, but I have to say, this is not my cup of tea. So Ray Charles' Genius plus Soul equals Jazz, arranged by Quincy Jones. It's too much of a big band thing. It's Ray Charles, and there's nothing wrong with Ray Charles, but if I'm listening to Impulse, I want to listen to Impulse, if you know what I mean. The sound quality of this is a pretty beat up copy, so I almost regret buying it. So yeah, there's very little positive to say about that, in my opinion. But it's going into the collection. So the next one and the final one, this is a record that everyone who appreciate rock music should own. If you don't have this, do yourself a favor, get it now. It's not expensive, not at all. 1975 Armageddon. I think they only released one record actually, and these guys came from the English band Steamhammer, some of them at least. This is a heavy rock record, really heavy. You have the first song, Buzzard, which just sets the tone for the entire record. I don't think there's a bad song on here, and the only thing I can compare it to is like Sir Lord Baltimore or Captain Beyond, like those sort of heavy rock records that is known to us collectors, but then again maybe not, you know, friends that doesn't collect records but listen to some Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. You know, these bands aren't the first ones that come up when you talked about it. Originally in the sleeve, lyrics, and it's on A&M, so a first US press of this, but there were a lot of pressings from different pressing plants and stuff like that on this one. Highly recommended, and finally in the collection. I think you can get this for like 15 euro, 20 euro, something like that, and it's well worth it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching all the way through. It's a long one, and I hope that you got some music tips. Please leave comments down below. I live for the comments, a way to communicate, and also so I know that you are alive out there. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this, and please consider subscribing if you haven't. It would be awesome if you left me a comment down below so I know that you actually exist and you're not a robot. Have a great day. Bye.